If you've recently learned to crochet, you might have already made a flat piece like this, working back and forth in rows to make maybe a scarf or a blanket. Well, if you know how to do that, you can also make this beanie. And if you don't know how to create something like this, stick around to the end of the video where I'll go over all the basics like how to chain and make this stitch pattern. However, if you're looking at this and thinking, yeah, half double crochet in the back loop, but how many stitches? What are the dimensions? Come on, Michelle, give me those numbers. Well, here they are. I made an average adult-sized hat, and the sizing you need to consider is the circumference around the head, which corresponds to the length, in our case rows. And you'll notice that the hat has a tight fit that stretches, and that's because we worked into the back loop of the stitch to create this ribbed fabric. And to account for that added stretch, the length is actually shorter by about 4 inches than my actual head circumference. So that covers the length. But what about the width? For that, you'll need the hat depth, which is about how long the hat is from the top of your head to your ears. And it's helpful to have a chart for all the different hat sizes for this part, and I just so happen to have one for you. This is a hat sizing chart I made a long time ago, more geared towards top down in the round hats. But the measurement for the hat depth, indicated here by long under the circumference measurement, is still helpful to determine the width of your rectangle. Just remember to take 4 to 5 inches off the circumference measurement on this chart if you're using the super stretchy back loop stitch pattern. And one last thing to consider, if you want to be able to fold over the brim, add 2 to 3 inches to your starting chain based on that hat depth measurement on this or any other hat sizing chart. But if you have fairly average tension and want to make a hat just like mine with worsted weight yarn and a 5.5mm hook, you'll chain 39 chains. Skip the first chain and work 1 half double crochet in each chain for a total of 38 half double crochet stitches. Then on every subsequent row, work 1 half double crochet in the back loop of each previous stitch for a total of 42 rows until you reach that 18-inch measurement with your piece laying flat. So once you've got your rectangle, we'll start with seaming our foundation chain and final row together, and you can easily do this with slip stitches. The key to making this look tidy is to examine your foundation chain edge and see which direction it's curling. You want the side where it's curling up to be on the outside while you're seaming. So with my edges all situated, I'm going to insert my hook into the first chain on my foundation chain and pull the last live loop on my final row through. And to keep my stitch counts even, I'm going to slip stitch right into the back loop of the first stitch on my final row. And now I can insert my hook into the next foundation chain and into the next back loop on the final row and slip stitch those 2 stitches together. Again, into the next chain, next back loop, and slip stitch. And you can continue like this, slip stitching 1 for 1 your foundation chain and back loops of the final row together. And this seam we're creating will go on the inside of your hat, so your hat is inside out right now. This is the top of the hat, and this is the bottom of the hat. And now we're going to change up our seaming method to close the top of your hat. You'll chain 1 and fasten off with a longish tail. This is probably a little too long, but better safe than sorry. And I'm going to look along the edge to find one little gappy loopy dude. That's the technical term, gappy loopy dude. And I'm going to insert my hook, pick up that tail, and pull it all the way through. I'll find another little loop on the edge and pull my yarn tail all the way through. And see, I'm not seaming these 2 edges together, I'm just working into 1 loop at a time all along the perimeter of the top of this hat. And by doing this, I'm working my yarn around and around the top edge of the hat, effectively creating a drawstring so that I can literally draw the entire hat closed. And then all you gotta do is close up that little hole in the center by working your yarn across the opening a few times and drawing it really tight. You can knot it and cut the tail short, turn your hat right side in, and you're done. A super cute, stretchy hat you can confidently give, gift, or sell to just about anyone. Now, if I've still got the beginners with me, let's go over how to create that simple ribbed rectangle from the beginning. We're going to start by making a slip knot and place it on your hook. I'm going to grab my yarn with my left hand and wrap the yarn over my hook and pull up a loop through the loop on my hook to chain 1. Yarn over, chain 2. Yarn over, chain 3, and continue chaining just like this until you have a total of 39 chains. The loop on your hook doesn't count, and we're going to skip the first chain and make 1 half double crochet into the second chain. Yarn over and insert your hook into that second chain. Yarn over, pull up a loop through that chain. With 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops to make a half double crochet. Again, yarn over, insert, yarn over to pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3. Again, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3. Continue making half double crochets into every chain of your foundation chain. And when you've worked into that very last chain, you'll have a total of 38 half double crochets in your row. To start the next row, you will chain 1, which does not count as a stitch, and turn your work. Now we'll be working half double crochets again, but into the back loop of the stitch. See these little V-shaped stitches here on the top of your work? If you worked under both legs of that V, it would be a regular half double crochet stitch. But to create our ribbed fabric, we're going to work into the back loop, the back leg of that V, the one farthest from you. So I'm going to insert my hook down into the back leg of the stitch and complete my half double crochet just as we did on the previous row. So continue working half double crochets into the back loop of every stitch from the previous row, all the way to the end. And speaking of the end, I know it can sometimes be tricky to see where to put that last stitch. So I want to direct your attention here to the very end of our row, where you can see that last little stitch we need to work into. You can see the front and back leg of the stitch, and that little extra bit ahead of him is just the skipped chain 1 from the previous row. So once you've worked into that last back loop, you're all done with your row, and you can chain 1 and turn to begin the next row. Do that for a total of 42 rows, and you can pick back up at the seaming instructions from earlier in the video to finish your little hat. And I hope you enjoyed this flat, beginner-friendly crochet hat method. And if you did and haven't seen my flat slipper sock video yet, be sure to check out that video next. And I know these flat, seamed projects are pretty fun and easy for people to wrap their heads around, so let me know if there are any other sorts of projects you want to see done flat, and I'll try to figure it out for you. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!